Picture this. You walk into a nursery and drop $50 on a young fruit tree, an apple tree. It looks healthy, full of promise. You plant it, nurture it, and a couple of years later it gives you its first real harvest, maybe 20 pounds of fruit. You are proud. You think you did everything right. Then the years roll on. The fruit count drops. The branches get longer, heavier, messier. The tree looks impressive, yet it produces less and less. One winter, a heavy snow settles in. The weight builds, then crack. A main branch splits straight down the middle. Years of growth ruined in seconds. That moment hits harder than people admit. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Most fruit trees fail early, not because of bad soil, not because of pests, not because the owner did not care enough. They fail because no one ever taught the one skill that decides whether a fruit tree feeds a family for decades or ends up as firewood after 5 years. That skill is winter pruning. If you skip proper pruning in January, you are not just missing a gardening chore, you are locking your tree into survival mode. It will choose growth over fruit every single time. Big branches, tall canopies, very little harvest. The stakes are simple. Ignore January pruning and expect years of grocery store fruit runs, even with a backyard full of trees. You end up with oversized, good-looking trees that barely produce. Do it right, and the same tree can feed you for 30 years. If you grow fruit trees, or you plan to, subscribe now. This channel is about real food security, not picture-perfect gardens, not trees grown for looks. This is about trees that actually produce year after year with methods that work in the real world. You're not going to get this level of detail from most modern gardening content. What we cover here is practical, tested, and focused on results. If that matters to you, you are in the right place. January is non-negotiable for one simple reason. The tree is asleep. In winter dormancy, there is no active growth pulling energy through the branches. That means you can cut without draining the tree. No sap rush, no stress response, no loss of fruiting wood that would have formed later. You're shaping structure at a moment when the tree can handle it best. This timing comes from old self-sufficiency practice, long before gardening became decorative. Back then, trees were grown to feed households, not to look good in spring photos. The methods were tested over decades, not trends. There's a passage in one of the classic self-reliance books that lays this out clearly. It explains that pruning is not just about removing bad wood, but about shaping the tree for harvest and increasing the quality of the crop. That line alone changes how you look at pruning. Most modern guides miss this because they try to cover every climate, every tree, and every fear in one set of rules. The result is vague advice and overly cautious timing. People are warned not to cut too much, not to cut too late, not to cut at all. Fear replaces understanding, and the trees pay the price. There are 3 real reasons to prune a fruit tree. The first is obvious. You remove dead, damaged, or diseased branches. Anything broken, rubbing, or growing where it should not be, goes. This is basic maintenance, and most people stop right here. The second reason is shaping the tree for cultivation. That means keeping it reachable, balanced, and strong enough to handle weather and harvest. A tree you cannot manage is a tree that will eventually fail. The third reason is the one almost everyone ignores: increasing the crop and improving its quality. This is where most backyard trees fall short. They are alive, they're leafy, they look impressive from a distance, yet they produce very little fruit, or fruit that is small and inconsistent. That is not bad luck, that is a pruning problem. Today is about that third reason, getting the tree to stop wasting energy on excess wood and start putting it where you actually want it, into fruit you can harvest. Let's start with the apple, because if you only grow one fruit tree, this should be it. Apples matter. They store well, they produce heavily, they tolerate mistakes better than almost any other fruit tree. A well-managed apple can feed a household for months, not weeks, and it responds extremely well to correct pruning. January is when you set that up. Start with the basics. Use sharp, clean pruners and a pruning saw. Dull tools tear wood and slow healing. First cuts are non-negotiable. Remove all dead, broken, or unhealthy branches right back to the joint where they meet solid wood. No stubs. Stubs invite disease and rot. Next, look inside the tree. Any branch growing inward toward the center needs to go. These branches never receive enough light. They crowd airflow and create perfect conditions for disease. An apple tree should breathe and let light reach every productive branch. Now, shape the scaffold. The strongest structure for backyard apples is a pyramid or Christmas tree form, wider at the base, narrower at the top. This shape distributes weight evenly and prevents branches from snapping under fruit, snow, or ice. Long, sprawling limbs look dramatic until they fail. When you shorten a branch, your cut placement matters. Always cut about a 1/4 inch above a bud that faces the direction you want new growth to go. If you want the branch to grow outward, cut above an outward-facing bud. That single decision controls the future shape of the tree. Timing matters just as much as technique. Do not prune if temperatures are below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Cuts made in extreme cold do not heal properly and can lead to dieback. If it is too cold, wait. A day or two changes everything. Once pruning is done, finish with a simple step most people skip. Add compost mulch around the base of the tree. This feeds the roots slowly and supports recovery without forcing excessive growth. You are building a productive apple tree, not a tall one. Next up, the pear. Structurally, it's similar to the apple, so a lot of the same principles apply, but there's a key difference. Pears are far more vigorous. They grow quickly, shoot up tall, and put energy into wood faster than fruit if left unchecked. In the first few years, that vigor demands attention. Aggressive winter pruning is essential. Cut back strong shoots, shape the scaffold, and remove inward or crossing branches. You're training the tree to balance growth and fruiting, or it will overwhelm itself with leaves and long limbs at the expense of any harvest. Once the tree matures, the approach changes. Winter pruning becomes lighter, just enough to maintain shape and remove problem branches. The focus shifts to summer pruning, which directs the tree's energy into fruit production rather than new wood. Timing is everything, and knowing when to switch gears is the difference between a tree that grows and a tree that feeds. I learned this firsthand. I had a pear tree that was all leaves, no fruit, year after year. After following these pruning principles, by the 3rd summer it was loaded. The turnaround is real, and it's faster than most gardeners expect. With proper care, a pear tree transforms from an overgrown nuisance into a reliable, juicy harvest. Now let's talk about the plum. Unlike apples and pears, plums are stone fruits, which means they have that hard pit in the center and a slightly different growth habit. They tend to put energy into long, straight shoots and are more prone to certain diseases if cuts are not managed properly. One of the biggest risks with plums is silverleaf disease. It enters through fresh cuts and can slowly kill branches if left unchecked. That's why timing and technique matter more than ever. Always prune plums in late winter when the tree is fully dormant and make clean cuts. The moment you make a cut, seal it immediately with tree paint or an oil-based wound dressing. This simple step protects your tree from infection and keeps it healthy for years to come. Plums also love to produce suckers, those straight shoots that spring up from the base or along the trunk. They look like growth, but they are energy thieves. They draw resources away from the main fruiting branches and rarely produce anything worthwhile. Every winter, remove them flush to the trunk. Doing this consistently channels the tree's energy into fruit, not useless wood. Here's a little bonus tip. Consider companion planting. Plant garlic or chives around the base of your plum tree. These natural allies help deter aphids and other pests without chemicals. I've tried it myself and it really reduces stress on the tree, keeping your harvest cleaner and healthier. So for plums, remember the formula. Prune late winter, seal cuts, remove suckers, and protect your tree with smart companions. Follow these steps and you'll see healthier branches, fewer diseases, and a much more productive tree in the seasons to come. Next, let's focus on the cherry. Cherries are another type of stone fruit, and they have a tendency to shoot up fast and tall. That vertical growth is beautiful to look at, but it comes with a problem. Most of the fruit ends up at the very top, completely out of reach. Without intervention, you'll have a tree full of cherries you can't pick, and lower branches that stay bare. Winter pruning is your tool to fix this.
Start by capping the height of the main leaders. Keeping the tree around 12 to 15 feet makes it manageable and ensures fruit stays within reach. Then, thin the laterals. Remove overcrowded branches and any that block light from reaching the fruiting wood. Airflow is just as important to sunlight. It prevents fungal issues and encourages bigger, juicier cherries on every branch. Another thing to keep in mind is bird pressure. Cherries attract birds like no other fruit. Pruning sets up the tree for early netting or other protective measures. Once you control the structure, it's easier to protect your crop without harming the tree. Here's a quick question for you. Drop a comment with your favorite cherry variety. I love hearing what works in your garden, and sharing experiences helps everyone get better results. Managing height and spacing is the key with cherries. Do it right, and every fruit is within reach, fully sun-ripened, and far more productive than an unpruned, sky-high tree. If you're finding this helpful so far, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the full pruning series. Drop a comment below with your favorite fruit tree or pruning tip, and give this video a like if it's making your garden plans easier. Share it with friends who love growing their own food. It's time we all get more from our backyard.
Now let's talk about the peach, a tree that can be incredibly rewarding but also demands careful attention. Peaches are sensitive. They're prone to diseases like peach leaf curl, which can ruin a season if not managed. Unlike apples or pears, they need a bit more TLC to reach their full potential. When it comes to pruning, peaches respond best to an open-centered goblet shape. That means removing the central leader entirely and encouraging 3 to 4 strong outward scaffolds. The goal is sunlight penetration. Every branch should get sun on both sides so fruit develops evenly and sugars fully mature. A dense, unpruned peach tree is a recipe for small, flavorless fruit and more disease problems. Once the framework is set, pay attention to the laterals. Keep them short, around 6 inches, to encourage fruiting spurs. Long, unchecked shoots will steal energy from buds that could become fruit. Regular pruning is a conversation with the tree. Cut where it grows too fast, leave where you want production. After pruning, there's one more preventive step. If leaf curl is an issue in your area, apply a copper-based fungicide. This protects new growth and ensures your early spring shoots survive intact. Timing is crucial. Do it right after pruning, but before buds swell too much. Finally, when the fruit appears, thinning is key. Leave about 1 fruit every 6 inches along a branch. It may seem harsh to remove so much, but this step concentrates the tree's energy, producing larger, juicier peaches that taste far better than crowded fruit. Thinning also reduces branch stress, so limbs don't snap under heavy fruit loads. High maintenance? Yes, but a well-pruned peach rewards you with abundant, perfectly ripe fruit year after year. Follow these steps and you turn a temperamental tree into a dependable summer treasure. Next up is the apricot, a delicate but incredibly rewarding tree. Apricots are cold sensitive. A late frost can wipe out a season's potential in hours, so timing your pruning and protection is critical. Cut too early and the buds may swell prematurely, leaving them vulnerable to frost damage. Wait too long and you miss the dormant window when pruning is safest and least stressful for the tree. Start by removing any diseased or damaged wood. Apricots are prone to bacterial canker, which spreads quickly if infected branches remain. Clean, healthy structure is your first line of defense. Make your cuts precise, remove suckers, and open the canopy for light and air. Every branch counts when your goal is both fruit quality and tree.
Here's an example from one viewer who applied these principles. Their apricot tree in California was struggling. Thin canopy, nearly no fruit. After carefully pruning at the right time, removing diseased branches and protecting it from late frosts with a frost cloth, the next season produced a full, healthy harvest. Timing and protection turned a near failure into a productive tree. Frost protection is a simple but crucial step. In early winter, cover vulnerable trees with frost cloth, especially if temperatures drop below safe thresholds. Even a few degrees can make the difference between a tiny harvest and a tree full of fruit. Another advantage of apricots is that they self-pollinate. You don't need a second tree to produce fruit, which is perfect for smaller gardens or solo growers. One healthy, well-pruned apricot can supply a substantial harvest on its own, without complicated cross-pollination. In short, with apricots, precision matters. Dormant pruning, disease management, frost protection, and understanding their natural self-pollination trait are all keys. Do this consistently, and even a delicate apricot becomes a reliable source of sweet, sun-ripened fruit year after year. Finally, let's talk about the quince, a tree that many gardeners underestimate. Unlike apples, pears, or peaches, quinces are low-vigor. They don't grow aggressively, and that changes how you approach pruning. Overzealous cuts can do more harm than good, so a light touch is essential. The goal here is guidance, not reshaping. Think of it as gentle coaching rather than heavy-handed correction. One of the quirks of quinces is that it fruits on last year's wood. That means the branches that grew in the previous season carry the flowers and eventually the fruit for this year. Cut too much and you're literally cutting away the next harvest. This is why minimal pruning is key. Remove only dead, diseased, or poorly placed branches and make small adjustments to maintain a balanced shape. Leave as much healthy growth as possible. Even though quinces are often overlooked in the backyard, they bring tremendous value, especially in the kitchen. The fruits are aromatic and perfect for jams, jellies, and preserves. Their flavor is intense and unique, much more concentrated than store-bought fruit. A well-maintained quince will provide enough fruit to create homemade products that last well beyond the picking season, giving your kitchen a rich, flavorful advantage. When pruning, focus on maintaining light penetration and airflow, but resist the urge to reshape aggressively. A few cuts here and there to remove crowded or inward-growing branches is all that's needed. The tree naturally forms a productive, manageable structure if left mostly to its own devices. Another practical tip is to encourage pollination by planting flowers nearby. Quinces are particularly attractive to bees, and a healthy pollinator presence ensures a better fruit set without needing a second tree. The combination of minimal pruning and natural pollination produces a steady, reliable harvest each year. In summary, quinces teach a different lesson than your more vigorous trees. They require patience and restraint. Too much pruning reduces yield. Too little attention allows minor issues to build. Treat it carefully, prune lightly, and you get a low-maintenance tree that delivers highly flavorful fruit year after year. It's a gentle, productive addition to any orchard or backyard, offering culinary rewards with very little stress compared to its more demanding cousins. Now that we've covered each tree, let's pull it all together into a system that actually triples your harvest. The key lies in understanding how winter and summer pruning work in opposition. Winter pruning encourages growth, long shoots, strong scaffolds, and a well-structured tree. Summer pruning, on the other hand, redirects that energy from producing more wood toward forming fruiting spurs. It's a balance. One shapes, the other forces fruit. Think of the tree like a network of pipes carrying water. In winter, the cuts signal "grow more," opening the flow into new branches. In summer, strategic shortening acts like closing certain pipes, forcing the water into the areas that matter most, the fruiting wood. Done correctly, every drop of energy goes where you want it, producing bigger, more abundant fruit year after year. Here's how the schedule works. In the first 4 years, winter pruning is heavy. You're establishing the scaffold, cutting strong shoots, and teaching the tree where to grow. The focus is structure and strength. By year 5, the tree is mature. Winter pruning becomes light, just enough to maintain form and remove problem wood, while summer pruning becomes the main tool for maximizing fruit. When summer pruning in early August, the measurements are precise. Leaders should be cut back to about 6 inches. Laterals, the smaller branches off the leaders, to 3 inches. Subshoots, the smallest shoots at the tips, to just 1 inch. These exact cuts redirect the tree's energy efficiently, ensuring that what would have gone into endless leafy growth now goes into fruit you can harvest. Follow this system consistently year after year, and you transform a typical backyard tree into a productive powerhouse, increasing both quantity and quality of your harvest without complicated tools or expensive inputs. Let's make this practical so it doesn't feel intimidating. Start with your January pruning checklist. First, check the temperature. It should be above 20 degrees Fahrenheit to protect the tree from cold damage. Next, decide the order of your trees. Start with the most vigorous or the ones that need the most shaping, then move to the others. Set aside a realistic time estimate. 2 hours for 7 trees is enough if you focus and
When August arrives, your summer pruning checklist kicks in. Shorten leaders to 6 inches, laterals to 3 inches, and subshoots to 1 inch. Focus on areas that will produce fruit, removing excessive growth that steals energy. The results speak for themselves. An apple tree that once yielded 20 pounds can reach 60 pounds. Pears can triple from 15 to 45 pounds. Plums go from 10 to 30 pounds. It's not guesswork. These numbers come from proper pruning and consistent energy redirection. Step by step, your trees become more productive, manageable, and reliable. One of the biggest mistakes people make is skipping January altogether. They wait until spring or fall, thinking any time is fine, and that's a huge setback. Pruning outside dormancy can damage fruiting wood and slow the tree's recovery. Another common error is pruning in spring. At this point, the tree is already using energy to push buds and shoots. Cuts stress the tree, reduce yield, and increase the risk of disease. Then there's the fear of cutting too much. Many gardeners hold back, leaving crowded or inward-growing branches. The tree grows fine, but fruit production suffers. Remember, strategic cuts are not punishment, they're investment. Finally, people often prioritize appearance over biology. A tree may look neat and symmetrical, but if it's full of leafy shoots and producing little fruit, it's failing its purpose. Pruning is about directing energy, not creating a showpiece. Focus on health, structure, and harvest first. Think of your trees as generational assets. A well-pruned tree doesn't just produce fruit this year, it sets up decades of reliable harvests. Once shaped correctly, these trees largely manage themselves, needing only seasonal attention. Poorly pruned trees, on the other hand, demand constant intervention, endless trimming, thinning, and problem-solving, without ever giving you the full reward. Remember the simple rule: shape in winter, force fruit in summer. Follow it, and your trees will work for you, not the other way around. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe for more practical gardening strategies. Like this video and share it with your garden buddies. Thanks for watching SproutCycle Garden. Here's to healthier trees, bigger harvests, and fruit that actually reaches your table.